Hello, I'm Ali,
I'm Deb.
and welcome to another episode of Connected Conversations. Okay, so serious question. Are you someone that is always late, or are you the person that's always on time, or are you the person that's always that 15 minutes before the game starts? So I feel like you might toggle to one or the other. However, you generally have a vibe that you give out. Like you're either the late one, the early one, or the on time one. So Deb and I want to talk today about the waiting game. So people that are 15 minutes before, their waiting game might be a little bit different looking than the people that are 15 minutes behind the times. Anyway, Deb, what is this waiting game mean to you? And we're not going to necessarily talk about being on time and what your perception on that, because time has different illusions to everyone. So I don't want to pick on anyone. However, um, what do you think about waiting?
I came from the transportation industry, so I can't send a bus out there late. The customer is not going to be happy. And so I've grown up in this dynamic where I was always 15 minutes ahead. We always sent the bus 15 minutes ahead. And that's kind of how I operate. 15-minute, like I know if I have a meeting, I like to make sure I have enough time for traffic. I know that I need to find parking. I need to, like, some of that used to give me anxiety. I think I kind of go a little bit more with the flow now, but I like to be on time. I hate being late. I hate being rushed. And my partner's exactly opposite. He has no concept of time. He has no concept of, I even hosted a party for him and I'm like, this is a surprise for you. And he was still late. And I put it in our calendar. I also think it's kind of like rude. I think it's rude if you're habitually late. I think that's a selfish move. And I don't know. That's my take on it. I like to be on time, maybe 5 minutes fashionably late if I'm going to a party or something, like not showing up exactly. Sometimes I'm the host and I know what it's like when you're rushing around trying to make sure everything's prepared for your guests, but I'm always on time or even early. And I don't know. What do you think about waiting?
Oh my goodness. I used to have like freaking attacks getting
Anxiety attacks.
places. And I've really, really, really worked on my relationship to time and come to more of an acceptance that other people's relationship with time is their own business and how they want to portray themselves, and who am I to tell them how they should live their lives. So to lighten the load, especially when I used to be like, hey, I will be there at whatever time, it would come across that I would be sacrificing finishing things or feeling so rushed that I would forget things. And it became this added stress to my life that I personally don't think is necessary, because I also look at the thing of like, I missed something, and then when I got into traffic, I actually probably missed that accident. So maybe it wasn't my time to be in an accident. So I'm working on this like waiting. It's like, if I trust that everything has its own divine timing, how can I also set other people up for success? Because I do think that there is an element of respect that I want to provide people, that being on time or showing that like, hey, I do what I say what I'm going to do kind of idea.
Yeah.
So instead of saying, okay, I'll be there at 2, I will now say, and this is a trick for all women that has honestly changed my life dramatically with my stress with time. I will say I'll be there around 2-ish. And even adding that ish takes away that expectation that I will be there at 2.00 right on the dot, because that's what my brain was saying, like I will be there at 2. And if I was a minute late, I was so disappointed in myself, and that is unnecessary stress and perfectionism that I put on myself. So now when people talk, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll be there at 2-ish. 2-ish does not mean 3 o'clock. Okay, for those late comers, 2 o'clock does not mean 2:45. 2-ish to me means like within 10-15 minutes before or after, really. Because, yeah, in Toronto specifically, I think people who live in the GTA can relate. It can take me a half an hour some days to get somewhere. It It could take
That's
me an
so
hour and a
true.
half sometimes to get somewhere. So I am not wasting my time anticipating that there's going to be terrible traffic every time I want to go out my door. So by saying two-ish, and I think also when we're waiting, there's an element of like just keeping people in the loop. Like, I get it, life happens. And if I'm waiting for an hour and a half for someone, I'll probably be a little bit annoyed because there's like technology that can support us. So it could be as simple as
Communication.
like, hey, because I also living more in flow and in the flow state, I've also gone the other way where there is times when I'm in such a flow block that nothing matters. Time dilates. I am not checking anything. No pop-ups are appearing, and I am in deep work that I have totally. I think there's one time with Deb, like I totally missed something because I was just in deep work, and it wasn't because I don't respect Deb. It was just simply I was in such great work that it was like nothing else around me mattered. So that's my take so far, and that two-ish or whatever time has honestly helped my perfectionism and my own expectations. And it's not for anyone else other than my own peace of mind.
I guess if you can look at it too, and I think I've looked at it like what would happen if I was late for the meeting, or what happens if I get stuck at, like what's the worst case scenario? I think we often drum up like worst case scenario, and
Mm-hmm.
it all comes back, I think, to, like you said, communication and how we approach or respect somebody else's time. I always used to get, so if somebody was late, I'm like, okay, then they don't respect my time. I think I'm a lot more thoughtful about life just happens sometimes, traffic happens. And I've never been a road rager, because that's never really bothered me. It's just allowing for that, if that potential could happen. It's never been like, oh, I'm so angry, I'm stuck in traffic. I always kind of laugh at the road ragers because I always think that, well, they need to get somewhere really a lot more quickly than I do. So I'm just like, you go. But yeah, I think I'm more compassionate and understanding. I think we've had to be, and throughout the pandemic too, it is just like time. We either have so much of it, or we're waiting when masks are going to be off. We're waiting to get into restaurants. It's been a waiting game. We've had to, really harness the power of entertaining ourselves and
Mm-hmm.
connecting with people on a different level. So that's also been something different. But I wanted to shift into something else. The waiting, well, you're waiting to move. By waiting for, when we talk about like the law of attraction,
Mm-hmm.
manifestation, the art of waiting, the state of waiting, how do you navigate that when you have a big dream, a big desire, and I know you do, and I know we both do, there's that sometimes it's like it's almost there. You can almost taste it, but it's not there. And you're like in this uncomfortable space. How do you navigate that? How do you navigate those moments where you might want to quit because it's not coming as quickly as you want it?
Yeah, so by nature, any Taurus person out there can relate. I'm naturally stubborn and impatient. So
My son's a Taurus. That explains everything.
I'm very patient, waiting for all these goodies to come along. But really, all astrology signs ahead. There is a level of patience. There is a level of acceptance that sometimes the universe, God, whatever you want to believe in, is great, has a bigger plan for us. And there's the law of gestation. Like just because you plant a seed doesn't mean it's gonna sprout out right away. Sometimes seeds can take days, weeks, months. A pineapple planted takes 18 months to get a pineapple. So next time you eat a pineapple, appreciate that that little sucker took 18 months to get, plus farm to like house. So me appreciating the law of gestation of like, okay, I'm planting these seeds. Now, how am I going to nurture? How am I going to um, continue to put focus without clawing too much attention to what I want and enjoying the journey? And that has probably been the toughest for me, is enjoying the moments in between and being okay with not seeing the results the way that I thought they could look like, and total surrender, because it will never look like you think it's going to look.
Mhm.
And I say that to myself, and I'll say it to my clients, like 5 years ago, could you imagine your life right here, right now, where it was? No. I would say that's a like, no. You could have a version or that overall vision, though I truly believe that there's always something greater, and it's our role to enjoy and be mindful day to day. So I really do struggle with impatience and feeling like there's always something more to do. And sometimes for myself specifically, and I've been leaning into human design for myself, sometimes the more I need to do, because I am Manny Jen, I can be very quick. I'm constantly doing, I have a lot of energy to give, and I'm constantly going. That's when I am starting to feel frustrated or there's too many moving parts. That's my time to pull back, get grounded, and give myself that mindfulness. And in the flow cycle too, there's moments of struggle and flow, and then there's moments of recovery. So it's enjoying all of this parts of the journey that has helped me with this waiting game, waiting for the next client, or waiting to see what the results are, or waiting to see where this is actually going to go, because there's so much more to enjoy is what I'm realizing. And it's in the in between moments I'm finding are is where the magic creates, the creativity starts to come through, these aha moments. And that's again my own journey, but there has definitely been a lot of impatience. Deb?
Yeah, I think I've been telling you for the last few weeks, I'm in this uncomfortable space, and it's like I have this big vision. I'm working with a new coach. I'm very excited to rebrand. I'm picking out new brand colors and like all that fun creative stuff. And then it's like, but I'm not quite there yet. And there's just, like you said, so many moving pieces. And, I think we've talked about like the art of letting go of outcomes, letting go of expectations, holding the vision, trusting the vision, but also creating space for that newness to come in. And I've definitely been in that space lately where it's just uncomfortable, like nothing. I think I said to a girlfriend, like, nothing is feeling comfortable. My business isn't feeling comfortable. Some of my friendships and relationships aren't feeling comfortable anymore. But that is because I know I'm like so close. And it's just leaning into the discomfort, leaning into the growth that I'm experiencing, like you said, along the journey. And it's kind of in those uncomfortable moments that I think a lot of people want to stop. And I just think of like, you're going to the top of a mountain, even though it's kind of like this destination that's always there because we're never at the top because we're always continuing to grow. But if we look at it like my destination is the top, it's the growth and discomfort of actually climbing the mountain and like leaning into just keeping the vision, trusting, surrendering to the journey, and then just like holding on to that growth along the way and the lessons along the way and really finding out new parts of yourself. Who do I need to be differently to get to the top of the mountain? Maybe I need new shoes. Maybe I need other support systems. Maybe I need to ask for help. Maybe I need to have a conversation. Maybe I need to learn a new skill. Maybe I need new tools. So I think it's those little moments of self-discovery along the way, leaning into the discomfort. And I know it's like being patient along the way because it's going to happen. If you can think it and believe it, you're going to see it. So I think for me, it's lately just been leaning into the discomfort, but being really honest about where I'm at too and what I need help with. So
I love that, being honest and reaching out for support. You said something, remember it like something Mel Robbins says, is like, I did not come this far to come this far.
right.
And that's what it feels like at some points, especially when you're like reinventing yourself or doing something different. And I love how you say, like, if you want different results, the same things that you are doing over and over again, the same people, places, and things are not going to get you those different results. You have to do something different. I'm not saying blow up your life. However, take a look at maybe your morning routine to start with, or take a look at how you spend your free time. I think that was the biggest aha, especially I
Mm-hmm.
think it was right before COVID. I was in a new city and I was like, how am I actually like, do I really want to go down my life just binge watching Netflix? And don't get me wrong, I am not poo-pooing TV time. Some people get this like idea. I watch TV, probably not near as much as the average person. I'm mindful with what I watch. However, I just kind of looked at my life and I said, like, I don't want to be someone that just watches Netflix every night. Like, there's too much for me to give. There's too much that I want to do.
They
So it
say
could
the
be like,
average,
what?
yeah, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
They say the average person watches about 6 hours of TV a day. Like
That's
6 hours. Like what can you be doing in 6 hours?
Yeah, like take two of those, right? Still watch your 4 hours of whatever show you got going on. Maybe that's your inspiration or your downtime, whatever. It's not for me recovery. However, like you have a dream. And yeah, if you've been waiting for your dream and choosing to do nothing, then you're going to keep on waiting. So I also think with a
Absolutely.
lot of gestation, like there is a matter of like, yeah, plant the seeds and still tend to your garden. Because if you plant your seeds and forget about them, like where are they? They're going to be reproduced with weeds, and maybe the seeds will be gone because you forgot about them. And just take care of the garden, nurture it, love it. Like there's tons of studies when they have the plant, like that one plant that they talk badly to, and the one plant that they talk really nicely
I had
to,
a friend that just did this. It's crazy.
right?
Yes.
Like that's our minds. Think of that as like we are legitimately grown up plants, but we're human beings. You're just like a houseplant. You need sunshine, water, nutrition, love. So that's what I think with waiting. I think there is different forms of waiting. Right now, mine looks like impatience. So it's kind of like scaling back and having time to myself, mindfulness, doing things I love. How often, Deb, like, are you doing stuff just for the joy?
Yeah,
That's it.
I'm trying to incorporate that in every day. So lately
Mhm.
for me it's been getting out on the golf course. I love the time in nature. I love the physical element of it. I love the patient element of golf because I'm not that
Practicing my
great.
patience, so I'm going golfing today.
That's so true. And just the weather. I think just being outside for me brings me so much joy. And we've talked about the winter that we've had. So for me, just being near water, being at my parents' cottage, just like getting together with friends on a different dynamic than just going to a pub or something, but like really connecting with people on a different level. I think that's something that is joyful for me. And we talked about reinventing ourselves, or if anybody's in that process. I know my previous coach said he has reinvented himself at least twice. And one of them was like he stopped going out, he stopped seeing his friends. He really had to hone in on what habits he wanted to cultivate to be the success that he is. So it requires you to do something different. It requires you to be patient with yourself and just really lean into that self discovery. But I am just such a firm believer that if you really want something, it's there, and just surrendering to the journey is so important.
Hmm. Hmm. Totally. It's and it can be fun, though the waiting game is
Not
it's
always
cool
fun.
and like it's part of like the Dr. Seuss book too. I just read that to my nephew. And then there's a waiting space, but you wait and you wait.
I love it.
And sometimes in the waiting, like I said, that's like to me release. It's letting go, like letting go of this struggle that I'm in and just like asking myself literally, like, okay, if I'm frustrated or if I'm feeling bitter or resentful, if something is just feeling out of alignment, like stopping everything
Mhm.
and just saying like, hey, what will be my next best step to support me to feel more joy, satisfaction, alignment. And then whatever pops into mind or comes through, trusting and just doing that thing, because that's usually where the magic happens, is when I'm not doing the logical thing and I'm just listening and intuitively guiding myself. So that's another tip that I would give anyone who's feeling frustrated or things aren't working right now and they're in that waiting and doing the same things and not sure how to do something different, because I do find that too. Like sometimes when we're used to doing things, our subconscious will keep on playing it because we need that different version or that different outlook. And it's trusting the divine for sure.
I agree. It's not always logical. Sometimes it's seeing a signpost on your next move. Sometimes it's seeing a commercial that speaks to you. So if you're seeing something. Trust that is the message for you. Trust that you are on the right path and surrender to the journey. So thank you for joining us this week. Catch us on Mondays live, where we go live to kickstart your week. And we will be back next Thursday with another episode of Connected Conversations. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please share with your friends and rate and recommend on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. There will be links to more great resources in the description.